Let's see. Make sure all this is working. All right. See, I think I got everything set up. What's up, y'all? This is this is the first time I've ever streamed, I think, publicly on Nazo. I'm trying to make sure I do it all right, all the setups, what have you. Hopefully, I'm doing okay. Hopefully, all y'all are doing well. This is a spoiler-free stream. I'm only working on a shot of Sonic and Shadow on Eggman's carrier, so nothing will be spoiled on this stream. In fact, let me update that real quick on the title. Okay, let's see. Okay, so what's up, y'all? It's your boy Chakra-X. He's here with his very early into Act 1 of Nazo will be here. I won't be streaming for too long. I'm just waiting until I have to go out for dinner. But I'm home early, so I figured I'd give this a whirl. So in this scene, here, let me hide these model sheets real quick. And let's see. Yes. So in this shot, I'm trying to think where it takes place before. Okay, yeah. So it's revealed that, oh hey, Eggman has the Master Emerald. Big surprise. And in this shot, or the shot before this, Eggman's like bragging to Sonic and friends about his new egg carrier and how fantastic it is. And we see some reaction shots and what have you. And in this shot, Sonic's like, "Wait, this is your new special machine? Like C- at best, Egghead." And this is what I had before. Let me turn the opacity up. This is the storyboard. When I animate, I typically like to have the animatic, which is just a moving storyboard, underneath what I draw, so I know what I guess is happening, because I spent like like almost 2 years storyboarding like 45 minutes of the film, so it acts as a guideline. But something happens in the middle of Act 1. I took a storyboarding class, an online storyboarding class under Steve On. He is one of the oh god, I can't remember if he's he storyboards on Voltron. I forget what the specific title. I don't want to say he's the director or the lead storyboard artist, because I actually can't remember off the top of my head right now. But he has storyboarded a lot of episodes on Voltron, on the Netflix series. And taking his class taught me a lot of new concepts about storyboarding and how to approach it, and also just seeing my friends who work at various studios and seeing their boards kind of inspired me to push the boards in Nazo farther. And there's a point in Act 1 where the angles and shots just get a whole lot better than a lot of the stuff that we saw before. And at this point, at this shot, this is before I took the class. It's very dead on. He's almost center of the frame. It's not a super strong shot for what his attitude's supposed to be. And it's also the shot before this, which featured Knuckles. The shots I've been posting on Twitter and on my Patreon. The bigger versions are on Patreon. The shots were too similar, and you don't always want to have like a similar, I guess, composition between two shots unless that's intentional. But it would look too jarring to have two similar shots of Knuckles standing halfway through the frame and then Sonic standing halfway through the frame. So I'm gonna make us something off the spot. So we're gonna be working on a new. We're gonna rough out Sonic and Shadow's positions in the frame, and I'll probably end up roughing out some animation. I don't know how far I'll get because I probably only have like an hour or so, but we'll see what happens. Let me check the chat real quick, make sure everybody is. $616. Oh my god. What? Oh. Okay. Well, okay, yeah, let's do it. So, all right, let's start off by reducing the transparency of. Oh, by the way, I do my animations in Toon Boom. I use Toon Boom Harmony Premium version. It's similar to Adobe Flash / Animate. I know Animate is a lot more popular. It's also a lot cheaper. I just prefer Toon Boom because there's so many tools that allow me personally to animate better, or not better, animate quicker. I can't say better because it's just a tool, but I animate quicker in Toon Boom. I animate cleaner in Toon Boom when it comes time to cleaning up stuff. So I choose to use this instead. And I'm gonna walk y'all through some of these steps. So let's see. These are my Sonic and Shadow model sheets. I don't need all of them. I bring up the model sheets so that way I can stay on model and keep the proportions correctly when I'm working on files. Because since it's mostly me animating, you would think that I would know how to stay on my own style, but I know over time, especially since this is gonna take years. Like I don't want the style shifting as the movie goes along. I want it to stay consistent, so I use these model sheets to do that. I think I'm just gonna keep the 3/4 view. So let's get rid of the side view, the back view of Shadow. Pull this out. Do that. Let's do the same for Sonic. Get rid of Sonic 2. Get rid of Sonic 3. Cool. So for now, let's just. How should we approach this? Let's just put these guys to the side. What I just did, I just attached all the Shadows layers to a peg so that way I can grab all his parts separately. It's cool because like I have different things parented to different parts of their body. I don't animate this cartoon in puppet animation too much. It's mostly frame by frame, but it still does help to have it separated for when like I want the head to move but not the body. Let's see, get this. Yes, bear with me through the boring parts of file setting up, file organization. Move this to the side. Okay. Oh no. Why didn't his arm not go? Oh. Yeah, why did it? Hold up. There we go. All right, so now that that's out the way, I'm gonna pull up my rough brush preset. I'm gonna make new drawing. I'm gonna call this Sonic Rough. And we're gonna call this one Shadow Rough. I was just checking the chat about. I saw someone mention Shattuck in a flashback. Shattuck will not be fighting. Like he will not play. He will like Shattuck is not in this period like at all as like a current character because there's going to be a reason why I explain why Shattuck can't be a thing. It's mostly because I didn't want to have to rely on that same trick. As I did like when I was in high school. I thought it was really cool at the time. I still think it's cool. It's so super strong. I wanted to figure out a new way to approach the villain. But because for all you Shattuck fans out there, there will be a flashback of Shattuck. So you'll see him drawn in a more updated style at some point in the film. So if you want to see a glimpse of what he would look like in the Wrath of Nazo context, you will see that he just does not play a part in saving the world. All right, let's see, where was I? Cool. So I gotta keep this in mind because where they're placed at. So let's say this is Eggman's carrier, right? This is the front, the bow. Yes, the bow of the ship. This is like his like control center. So Eggman's over here, Egg for Eggman, and then these are the heroes down on the sky deck. You got Knuckles, Tails over here, and then you have Sonic and Shadow. They're pretty close all together, but Sonic and Shadow are closer than Tails and Knuckles physically. So I gotta keep that in mind for consistency, because in the other shots, if like I have, Sonic and Shadow here, but then Tails and Sonic right next to each other, even though that's where Shadow was, it gets kind of confusing. So I try to keep that all in mind. So in this shot, we're just gonna see Sonic and Shadow, and let's see if I have Sonic here, right? Ooh, pen lags a little bit when I'm streaming. Hopefully that won't be a problem. So let's see. Do I want to upshot? I could have Sonic facing this way, right? And Shadow in the foreground like this. That's not cool though, because that's a similar angle to how I have Knuckles. So that's not gonna work. So I'm not gonna do an upshot. What if I did a down shot? Ooh, wait, okay, hold on. Let's see something. If you do a down shot, right? Let's see. Right now, I'm just roughing out stuff real quick, obviously. I'm not trying to do anything super on model. I'll try to hear the audio for a second.
This is our final doom. C- at best, Egg Brain.
That music you hear is from Kyle AB5000. He's done fantastic work so far on some of the original music he's made for Wrath of Nazo, and he's so good. So let's see. Let's say we have Sonic. Check on the stream on the chat real quick. Oh yeah, someone noticed Sonic's mouth is is detached. Yeah, that's parented incorrectly. But oh, oops. Ooh, oh, I didn't do that. His mouth is parented incorrectly, but that's fine because I will not be using that mouth in this situation. In fact, let me make my brush a little thicker since I'm drawing them so up close. There we go. I saw someone ask the kind of tablet I use. I used a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro. It is a tablet. So if you ever used a drawing tablet before, most of them are like slabs of either plastic or glass if it's a screen, and you plug that into a computer. And like if it's a Cintiq, if it's a Wacom Cintiq, it's actually a monitor that you plug into your computer that you can draw on. If it's like a Wacom Intuos, it's a slab. It's just like a slab with no screen that you draw on top of, and you look at your computer screen while you draw. And then you have the the Mobile Studio Pro, which is like kind of like a Microsoft Surface, where it's a computer and a tablet in one. So I can draw on this without being connected to like a desktop. And this is how I usually get my work done. I work on Nazo on the train, on my lunch breaks, because I have that mobility factor. They're a little more expensive than I would like, but between the freelance and the amount of art I get to do on the go, because of it, helps a lot. So for me, it's worth it. But if you're like trying to get into animation, like if you're like a novice and you just want to mess around with it, I would definitely recommend getting one of the cheaper either Wacom Intuos, or I think they still make the Wacom Bamboo, which is it's like an even smaller version of the Intuos. And for novices, for people starting out, that's fine. I made freaking Nazo Unleashed in 2006 on a Wacom Graphire, I think it was called. It was about like 4 by 6 inches wide in terms of drawing space. And at the time it worked, but now it's kind of obsolete. So let's say we have Sonic here. This arms on his hand, or his arms on his hips. Sorry. Draw his body. Oops. Actually, I don't want him looking at the camera. I want him looking to the side out of like boredom. Don't want him. No. I don't want to cock at you. Uh-oh. Needy Herd is definitely one of my favorite Sonic songs of all time. It's always interesting seeing how people draw Sonic differently. Like I don't draw his squills super long. I used to, I think. I think my style changed a little bit. They're a little longer than his model, but I ain't gotta worry about that right now. So let's see, keep him here. So this is actually, I made the mistake. I got a little too carried away. When you're framing shots, you probably shouldn't go this detailed. I should have just like made thumbnails, honestly. In fact, let's see. I have Sonic here and then Shadow. I want Shadow behind him, but what if no, I think that's fine. His mind's up here. Like, cause physically, Tails, this is Tails, and Knuckles over here. So like Sonic's kind of like turning his back to Eggman, who's like up this way. So Shadow's here. How do I compose him? Let's crop it out to see. I might have to pull the shot out a little bit. By that I mean maybe not make it as tight. Meteors coming my way. So this is what happens when you try to do like storyboarding on the go while you animate. You gotta like think about it, and I have to make sure I don't dislike it when I start animation, or else it's like, oh, you did all that work animating even though you don't even like the. Oh, what if this might be awkward? Well, let's see. What if is now again, I do love Toon Boom. I will say that Flash is a little easier to learn. So if you are curious about animation, because Toon Boom is so expensive and Flash is a little bit cheaper. If they both have free trials, but maybe if you're just starting out, mess around in Flash, first before Toon Boom. Just because I just feel like Flash starting out, it's a lot more straightforward, I don't want this shot to feel claustrophobic. Oh, you know what? So we gonna cheat. We gonna use an animate sheet. This is what we gonna do, all right? So I'm gonna take this camera, right? Let's delete this keyframe. We're gonna do an anime as pan. That's what we're gonna do. So that way, we're gonna start here. So we're gonna see Shadow first. And then it's gonna be closer on Sonic by the end of his line. What am I doing? Oh, there we go. So now when he starts talking,
This is our final doom. C minus at best, Egg Brain.
yeah, actually, okay, so I don't like there's a ease on the camera. That's making it slow up and slow down. That's why. So this is what ease is. Like if you ever really in real life, if you were to move yourself or I'm trying to think, or if you were to if you were to drop something from your hand, it starts out slow and speeds up. That's called ease in and ease out. And I had the camera doing that by accident. And I want that, not for this pan. Sometimes you do want that. In this case, I don't want that. I want a linear camera movement.
This is our final doom.
But still, fuck it, still. Let's see.
This is our final doom. C minus at best, Egg Brain.
Yeah, it's still doing that. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We are going to delete this camera. We're gonna make a new camera. my camera go? Oh wait, is it hidden? Just undo all that. Keyframes. So keyframes. See. Make sure this is right. Ah. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, sometimes you don't want to there we go. Some of them can get a little complicated. There we go.
This is our final doom.
Cool. Now, that's going really fast because I have the keyframe here. So let's just drag that all the way to the end.
This is our final doom. C- at best, Egg Brain.
Okay. Still a little tighter. This is better because now I can like still fit shadow into it. What if I have move him over a little bit more?
This is our final doom. C- at best, Egg Brain.
Cool. Shrink them down a little more. Just so they're not so all up in the shot like this. Right. I draw these little guidelines like shadow shoulders so I know that he's going in perspective, you know. Oh, he's looking, he needs to be looking up, actually. And maybe I won't have his chest be so. Yeah, I'll turn it a little bit. Okay. Yeah, alright, let's mess with that. So now I have it on an angle a little bit. Push his body into. Whoa. It's a top-down shot, so I gotta remember that his head's gonna be a little more above his. Let's actually hide these borders so I can make sure this makes sense. Yeah, I'll mess with that a little more once I get to the cleanup stage. How's the chat doing? Oh, so for any of that joined in recently, I am working on Act 1 of The Wrath of Nazo right now. This is very early in the scene where Sonic and friends are on the egg carrier. Eggman has greeted them all. We find out that obviously, yes, he stole the Master Emerald. For what? We don't know yet. But Eggman's bragging about his ship, and Sonic's not all too impressed, and he begins teasing Eggman about it. Trying to grab his... Yeah, there we go. That's more of a perspective that I want. Move him a little farther away from Sonic. I like the Sonic-X effect of just showing his back spike like that and not having this. I think the reason people do that is because his ear sticks out like that, and I feel like having the ear and the spike can make a weird silhouette of the character and be a little confusing. Unless it calls for it. Sometimes a certain angle requires the ear and the other spike drawn. Some people don't care, but for drawing purposes, sometimes I just leave it out. It's like a shorthand. Honestly, Shadow actually won't be moving that much in this shot. He'll blink actually, but Sonic's the one doing all the emoting. So I think it's about time I take Sonic and put him on his own layer. So that way I don't accidentally mess up Shadow's rough layer. Let's see. Oh, maybe we'll get some time to see. You guys can see some rough keys. You definitely won't see any final animation today. But let's see if we can get some super rough key poses in. I'm not really drawing Sonic's legs in perspective correctly. Oops. See, now because I pulled the shot out, I gotta make sure I draw Sonic's hands correctly. Sometimes I like to cut off the hands off the shot so that way I don't have to draw them. But can't always cheat sometimes. Now, usually, again, drawing these rough poses wouldn't take this long because I would have had a general idea from the storyboards, but because I made an entirely new shot composition. This is a little more drawn out than usual. And I have to make sure I take my time on this, because if it doesn't work by the time I'm done animating it, then it's like, wow. If I just did it right the first time, I wouldn't have had this problem. Man, I miss Rouge's music. Excuse me. I know everybody talks about Sonic Adventure 3, or it will never happen. I just need it to happen so I can get more Rouge music. I've been starved of that for 15 years? I think it was 15 years. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, if from the release date of Sonic Adventure 2. Actually, even Sonic's head actually should be a little more on top of his body based on this perspective. Let's tweak that. Oh yeah, and his nose actually from this perspective wouldn't be that high up. Again, this is why we rough stuff out. So just gonna give him a big fuck it. I used to draw the noses super long when I was younger. I don't know why. That's about right. Okay, cool. So this is actually going to be Sonic's final pose, I think, in this.
This is our final Doom. C- at best, Egg Brain.
Alright, so put that here. So he's going to make this pose when he says C- at best, Egg Brain. Now, again, this is a fun line. I could do a lot of animation to play up the acting on this. But if I did that with every single shot, we'd be here forever. So sometimes I have to keep it kind of limited. So I'm just going to have him adopt this pose the moment he says C- at best, Egghead. Make a new drawing here. So he ends here. I'm going to have him start. So now I have him. I have Sonic's. In fact, let me actually change this setting so you can see better. I'm using what's called onion skinning. Flash has this too, by the way, where you can see the frames before and after what you're drawing on. I do this. The green outlines mean there's something. It's showing the drawings in front of where I'm currently at, and if it's red, it'll show the drawings that are behind me. So I'm gonna have Sonic. I'm gonna have him start off kind of like looking in the same direction as Shadow. Make sure Sonic's body is about the same size, because he's gonna turn and do that pose. Let's take it down. So let's see. I got also make sure the line matches the pose. So
C- at best, Egg Brain.
so I might make him like a little board. Let me hear it.
This is our final Doom. C- at best, Egg Brain.
Ooh, okay. I got something funny. So I'm gonna have him kind of like hunched over, right? And when he says, "This is our final doom," he's gonna kind of glance over at Shadow, like, "Are you serious?" Shadow's gonna look at him, but he's not gonna really engage. They're not, they're not there yet. Let's hunch him down even more. Get back to here. Make sure I'm not losing my form. What's that look like with the frame? Let's see. Sometimes I start with a very simple face just to make sure I have the expression down. So like, he's annoyed because like he was expecting something new, you know, something that's special, and this is just, oh, it's just another A carrier. Like, bro, what we doing? Race. Uh-oh. So I have touch enabled on my computer, but there we go. Sometimes it glitches out. Damn, we're at 45 minutes so long, and there's still like over 400 people here, which is fine. I like most streams. I feel like people tune in and I say, "Okay, cool. I've had I had enough. You know, I'm gonna go about my day," which is fine. I don't expect people to stick around for the entire stream. You know, we all got busy lives. I honestly just appreciate that y'all show up at all. Like, that's like the main reason that kind of fueled me to get back into working on Nazo. Like, don't get me wrong, I have my own characters and ideas I want to work on that is entirely separate from Sonic. The Eclipse Force character, Sol and Luna, for those of you who follow that. But I don't know if I'll ever make something like I did with Nazo Unleashed. Like, that was like the only thing I ever had that went like stupid crazy viral. And it still is popular today. And I'm it's very surreal seeing that, or like hearing people say, like, when I meet, you know, younger people at work and they're like, "Oh, you made that? What? I remember watching that." And that's still so crazy to me because, like, even at that time, I was a very amateur animator. I'm still, you know, I still have like, you know, a lot to learn, but it's just nice seeing that interest stay strong, and I'm like, you know what? I still like Sonic a lot. I haven't changed much in that regard. What if I did one last hurrah of a Nazo film, you know, and like put it out there, see what people thought about it, and had a closure, because I did have a cliffhanger at the end of Nazo Unleashed. But that was when I had that idea. I also thought it would have been like a 15 to 20 minute like little something to kind of like end everything, and that's what it was at with the very first script. You know, but the more I read it, the more I'm like, this concludes way too fast. This is like, even if the animation was better, it wasn't like really worthy of we call it a sequel compared to Nazo Unleashed. So then I started adding things here. I started adding exposition here. I added some extra characters at a certain point. And like after all that and some like new backstory details, it just started creeping up from like 15 minutes to like 20 minutes and 25. And I'm like, oh, 30, that'll be it. But by the time all was said and done and I actually timed the voices out, it started approaching like 40, 45. And I'm like, damn, what happened? And a lot of the duration that's been added is from dialogue and exposition to explain some things. I actually cut a fight originally in the beginning. I was going to have the characters fight something in all their normal forms, you know, so Sonic, Shadow, Knuckles, Tails, without transforming, we're fighting something. And now I've changed that a little bit to kind of get quicker to the meat of the story. So, trying to get this pose right. Would he bend this? So go from here. I know his body's bending over, but I gotta make it a little bit bigger. This is rough, so the staying on model isn't. I mean, it's still important. It's still important to stay on model even in a rough stage, so that way you're doing less work in the cleanup stage. But because I'm going so loose, I can like tweak as I see fit. That's good enough. I believe that's because he's like scrunched over. So then, kind of working in reverse. Like I start with the final pose, and I'm like working backwards.
This is our final Doom.
So when he says Doom, I want him to kind of like look over at Shadow. So let's draw a new key pose for that. It's gonna like kind of like raise his face a little bit. Kind of like cock his face over. Like, Shadow, you seeing this? You serious about this? This is what we were all worried about? Let's see. Go. So like he's tilting his head over a little bit. So this is a big jump, right? To go from here to here. Obviously there'll be drawings in between that, but to save time, when it's a simpler movement like that, I can just rough out the keys. And when I say keys, I mean like the key poses. And then when I go back in with the clean brush, I'll just draw the in-betweens that way. Because if I have this as a guide and I have this as a guide for my cleans, I can draw straight to clean in between that pretty decently enough without needing like rough guides. Sometimes the more complicated actions, I would need to do like a full rough. If Sonic was dancing with someone, that's a very intricate movement. I would have to draw a lot more rough in betweens before going straight to clean to get that down correctly. Now for this, his body probably doesn't have to move that much. I might move it a little bit to give it to ground it a little bit more, but I might also cheat it and just have his head move. We'll see how it looks in the end. I'm gonna actually perk his, yeah, there we go. Add some little animal cues to his ears, so like, ooh. Yeah. Excuse me. So now it's like
Final Doom.
cool. So at this point, Shadow's gonna be like, and see, this is actually why I like the comics so much, because you get to see how the characters play off each other a lot. I'm referring to the IDW Sonic comics, like seeing how like Sonic interacts with Knuckles differently than he does Tails, differently that he does with Shadow. And that's what I have fun with doing with Nazo. Like if this was Knuckles would have like snorted in agreement or snickered along with Sonic, but Shadow's just like, what do you want? And then he goes back to what he was looking at. Oh, so check this out. So this is what I really like about Toon Boom. Flash can do this to an extent as well, but hold on, let me make sure. Let's tell this, go back to drawing 1. So now I didn't have to redraw that. I just told, hey, remember that first drawing I made up here, Toon Boom? Well, here I wanted to refer back to that. And the cool thing is, let's say I decide to change this, right? I add in like Shadow's eyes and stuff. It reflects that on this drawing as well, because it's not duplicating it, it's just referencing it. So anytime I update this drawing, if I reuse it, it'll be the same. But if I duplicate it and I do this, it makes a whole new drawing based off that drawing, but it doesn't affect the reference drawings. But if I did it on this one, now it affects it. So let's just undo all that. So he like looks at Sonic briefly. Let's add one more. I think this is called a breakdown, where, okay, this is his A pose. Sorry, this is his A pose. This is B pose. I want to keep it simple, but I might add one little breakdown where he blinks, then looks at Shadow. I think, well, since once this shot is done, I actually might post this in its entirety for public to see. I sometimes post work in progress stuff on my Patreon for people who want to see more stuff. And my Patreon is it's not a Sonic Patreon, and like it's because that's gonna be something I'm working on for years and years from now. And I make other art stuff too, so I don't want to feel like that Patreon is just dedicated for Sonic. That's just my biggest project currently. My Patreon, I have like sketches of personal art, of like other types of fan art. Sometimes I have full versions on there for people to download for like wallpapers and stuff. And just like mostly like behind the scenes stuff if you're interested in my work. But whether it's Patreon, whether it's following me on Twitter, whether it's watching my streams, my videos, really any kind of support, I appreciate you guys. I don't take any of this for granted, so let's have him like do a hard blink, like chat real quick. Let's see. See, it's been about 55 minutes. Oh, cool. I'm just gonna check in with with any new people that joined in. Hey y'all, I'm just working on a scene from Act One, featuring Sonic and Shadow, and how they're interacting with each other. Let's see. What other questions? I'm using a Wacom Mobile Studio Pro to draw. You don't, if you're trying to get animation, you don't need this. If you want it and you can afford it, and you're serious about animation and or drawing on the go, by all means, it's a great piece of technology. But if you're just starting out, again, Wacom Bamboo is a small tablet that's not a screen that you can connect to your computer to allow you to draw directly into the computer. If you want a screen to draw directly into, you could always get the lower end Cintiqs. I think it's a 13 inch. I think it's 13 inch. Excuse me, Cintiq that is $800. I think you can plug into your computer. Or even if that's too much, there's other non-Wacom branded drawing tablets if you're just starting out. Again, I personally think Wacom's the best drawing tablet, but they're expensive. It's an investment. So if you're just trying out, don't feel bad about using cheaper alternatives, or if you're using, I think HP, Dell, and even like the Windows Surface, like they have pens that could be useful to draw onto their tablet computers. There's the iPad Pro, and I hear great things about the iPad Pro, but the iPad Pro does not run Flash or Toon Boom currently, because it doesn't run Mac OS or Windows, obviously. So if you're trying to use this software, I would stay away from that. I would recommend the other tablets that I mentioned. Let's see. So I think someone asked about original music. I'm having a few artists make. So I want every piece of music used in the Wrath of Nazo will be fan made. They'll be based on Sonic songs for the most part. Outside of Nazo's theme. Nazo's theme is completely original by Kyle AB5000. But the intro to the trailer that I made, that was done by Folk. That was a pre-existing thing he had made. A cover of Endless Possibility, and I asked him for permission to use it as my intro, and I was really glad that he said yes, because it really helps set the tone for what I'm going for, because Endless Possibility is the theme song of Wrath of Nazo. You might be asking, well, Aaron, why didn't you just make a whole new theme song for Wrath of Nazo? Why you rely on existing Sonic songs? Fair point. I don't know. I heard that for the first time, and I'm like, this is so high energy and a really nice reimagining of that song that I'm like, this is the spirit of the entire project. I feel like anytime I try to do anything outside of what the games have done, it's usually centered around Nazo. So Nazo gets his own theme this time because he is not from the games. He is, he's a scrap supersonic design from Sonic X. But I have, for all intents and purposes, for this, he's just like an OC. And I was never really big on Sonic OCs. I didn't draw my own. When I would draw Sonic as a kid, I would just draw Sonic and his friends. I might draw made up super forms for him and stuff, but I never drew a hedgehog or a character that wasn't canon. And even Nazo, I used him in my very first film because I wanted it based somehow on something that existed officially. So since Nazo has no identity associated with officially with the games. That's why I give him, his original music, and he has his original attacks. Like, he's the odd one out, pretty much. And I know I said I was going to reduce how much Dragon Ball Z-ness would be in this film, which I am for at least the first part. But Nazo's powers are just effectively just Dragon Ball Z powers. Like, I know having Knuckles heal and Nazo Unleash was weird. I was like, I put myself in the corner with that one. Or having Shadow shoot energy beams from his hand instead of throwing it like it was just things that I definitely leaned heavy into Dragon Ball Z, and I'm pulling back from that from the main cast to at least to make it more. It'll definitely be like stylized like anime, like One Punch Man and My Hero and all that. But I want it to be a little more believable. Nazo doesn't have that rule. Nazo is not from the game, so if I want him to throw a spirit bomb like object, I'm gonna make him do it. Because there's ain't no rule that I can't do that because he ain't real. So, how's about that? Sorry, I got a little bit much. So let's see what this is looking like, right?
This is our final Doom. C- at best.
Hold on, is that out of sync? Let me see.
This is our final Doom. C- at.
Let's see. I want to. So, like, let's see. What should I do for? He scoffs. I'm trying to think what a scoffing pose would look like. Oh, did I see someone ask about if Infinite it's gonna be in here? So I'm a big fan of Infinite, even though he was executed so awkwardly in my opinion. I love his theme song, and I feel like there was so much potential for his backstory. This is another gritty villain for everybody to tackle. I just didn't like. I feel like he was one of the most incorrectly utilized villains in a Sonic game. Personally, but if you love how it was, that's totally fine. Your opinion is just as valid. Infinite won't be in this though, because I'm trying to think. Currently, I'm in my mind. I have this happening before the events of Forces. However, because this is gonna be, it'll probably be a few more Sonic games coming out before this entire thing is done. So if something comes out and I'm like, Sonic does something in a game, and I'm like, oh yeah, he did that in Nazo, I might say, oh yeah, this happens after Forces. But as of now, I want this happening before Forces. So Infinite isn't a thing yet. I guess at this point he would still be a. I can't remember what his squadron was called. The Jackal Squadron? Squadron Jackal. I guess he's still technically with them. Would y'all want a cameo? Should I do a pre-Infinite cameo sometime in the film? I don't know. We'll have to see. We have we have time to find out. Oh wow, a lot of yeses. We'll have to see. We will have to see. As long if y'all are patient enough to wait until the end, maybe you might see a certain Jackal. He's a Jackal, right? I'm pretty sure that's what he is. Let's see. What should I do with this? So this is the part with animation where it helps to stand up and kind of like act it out. So I'm trying to think if he's leading. So let's have him shoot up. So we'll straighten up. See how he's red now? That's showing the drawing behind them. My current drawing. Because now I actually have drawings behind me. So if I draw him like... Oh, be careful I'm not going off model. See, that's my fault. I should have had his model to the right of me the entire time. But I think it's on model. So he's kind of like lurching his head to the side. Yeah, make sure. Actually, his head would go up a little higher than that. And his body would be positioned a little differently. Like, I think it would be more arts. Like, this is the line of action, right? Line of action is an animation term, well, drawing term actually, that just shows the general flow of the drawing. So I'm like, it's just weird because I'm doing this in perspective, and it's like, so let's see what he... And in mid-turn, he would keep raising his arms. I'm glad y'all can see this in person. Y'all can see why it takes so long. Let's see. Let's see. Thank you, Joseph Ong. I'm glad I made your elementary school years awesome and cringy, as were mine. I guess mine was more so middle school, I guess, when I was in that stage. So are you going to use an Ultra Instinct power for Nazo or any of the other characters? I'm trying to avoid direct Dragon Ball Z transformation parallels. Like, I know Fusion was obviously inspired by Dragon Ball Z and Nazo. I just made it work for, I guess, the Sonic universe. There are new powers that will be explored in Wrath of Nazo. If there are any similarities to any Dragon Ball Z powers, because there might be even new ones coming out that I don't know about. Because I finished the storyboard before I started watching Dragon Ball Super. So if there are any similarities to like Ultra Instinct or any new form of Super Saiyan coming out or something, it's purely by coincidence, because that was not the goal this time around, to make those parallels. Is Nazo stronger or weaker than Infinite? I would say I think Infinite is stronger than base Nazo. Yeah, I think Infinite is stronger than base Nazo. I think Perfect Nazo would have the edge over Infinite. Definitely. Actually, no, definitely. I think Perfect Nazo would definitely have the edge over Infinite, like 100%. Um, but I'm also curious if Infinite can use the Chaos Emeralds. I saw someone had mentioned that pulling moves from Sonic Battle can make for an interesting display of power, and you will see that. One of the things I love about working on like Sonic fan stuff is that I can interpret things from the games as I see fit. So, like fans of Sonic Battle and Sonic Adventure 2 and what have you, you'll see moves that you haven't seen in a while, and you'll be seeing how I interpret them. For these fight scenes. Excuse me. So like his body's turning first and his head's kind of like coming in after. Not sure how that's gonna. I actually might make his body a little. Because if he's turning, he'll have to step. He's facing. Yeah, actually, I want him a little closer. Because I don't want him having to step to get in this position too far. Like maybe one step, but it's mostly a twist. So because I changed that, let's change this body. I'm realizing I had him do this hands on hips pose earlier. Maybe I should. Should I have him stretch? Whatever. I'll just keep it. I feel like if I stretch his hands behind his back, it's gonna do that weird stuff with his spikes, and I feel like this is a stronger silhouette. So I'm just gonna keep that. When I say silhouette, I mean this. So if I go into drawing mode, right? Let me just fill him with color. So when you're drawing, you want the character's pose to kind of like read well as quickly as possible, and you can do that by like filling the character. I'm just gonna do this real quick. So when I say strong silhouettes, I mean when I press this button here, without even seeing all the details, you know it's Sonic with his hands on his hips. But now let's say I delete this, delete that, and shoot. Stretch his hands like behind his back like that, right? I fill that in with white. I always lose track of my tools. There we go. If I fill this in with white, now it's from the pose that I have of him now, it's kind of hard to see what he's doing, you know. And sometimes I don't follow that rule to a T, but in this case, I think I'd rather have him like his hands on his hips. Sorry about that. It's answering a text. So let's see. Let's get back to this. It's actually almost time for me to go. But before I do, I want to see if I can get this. I'll probably change this posing a little bit so his head's not as straight on, but I just want to. Now see, this is one of those tricky things where how does one draw Sonic spikes? To the left, to the right? Do I draw them with like that? I kind of prefer the Sonic-X Mickey Mouse style where it's always like this. I might not keep it this way, but for the sake of and make them like let me see that. Okay, so he's gonna kind of like settle into this position a little bit because he's pouting a little bit, you know. He's a brat. I like bratty Sonic to an extent. I don't like him when he's too self-righteous, you know. I feel like his impatience is a flaw in his character, and I feel like that makes him more interesting. For me, you know. Again, this is super rough, so I'm just trying to show y'all what I'm going for here. So this is how it's going to happen. He complains or teases, looks at Shadow incredulously, and then I actually should. Here, I'll have him go down. A lot of times before a character goes forward, they need to go backward. It's called anticipation, and it makes the movement a lot more believable. Okay, this is, I'm not going to keep this drawing. This is just so I can block in the movement real quick. So it's like, it goes down and up, and then pose. So it's going to read like this. Again, this is super rough.
This is our final doom. C- at best, Egg Brain.
So I still have to make timing tweaks and like all this other, like, just corrections overall. Like this little movement right there needs to be corrected. Make sure it makes sense inside of the space. Like I feel like his head's too high, but let's see if I can mess around. I'm animating at 30 frames per second, by the way, so the timing is a little different than if I were to animate 24 frames per second. I think I do that because I always thought 30 frames per second looked better on the internet, but I don't know if that's how true that is. I think Newgrounds got me animating at 30 frames per second.
C- at best.
Now I notice it's skipping a little bit. It's going a lot faster than it's supposed to be. Let's see if I can render it quick and see if the timing makes sense there. And once I render this and I just check it for that, I'll probably in the stream so I can get some dinner. But let's see what this scene looks like. Check the chat while this renders. So it's so funny. I see a comment about 60 frames per second. 60 frames per second is great for video games and stuff because it's 3D, and like the computer kind of like people have to animate the models and move it by hand and stuff, but the little micro movements are filled in by the computer in between it. So that allows it to give a super smooth frame rate, like with video games and movies and such. Hand drawing animation is a little different, where you have to draw every single frame unless you're using like some kind of like, I guess, motion tool. And I know there's software out there that can like, what it's called. I've seen people like re-upload anime fights with like 60 frames per second mode, and the software kind of knows how to fill in the gaps. And sometimes it does look neat. For me, it looks a little jarring because it looks like it was forced on it. And it's almost too smooth. Honestly, real talk, even if animation moves at 30 frames per second, most animations are made either on 2s or 3s, and that means there's a new drawing every other frame. So if there's 30 frames in a second and you're drawing every other frame, that means there's 15 drawings for that second. So it's not as smooth as if you did 30 frames or 30 drawings in 1 second. And usually you want to do that. Oh, darn it. It's a little, might be hard to see because of the animatic in the background, but yeah, usually I animate on ones, which means a drawing per frame. When there's really fast movements, so like fight scenes and like quick movements and stuff like that, I'll animate on ones. But for like normal movements, it's twos, threes, even fours sometimes, because I'm animating at 30 frames per second, and that helps because it reduces how many drawings I have to make, and it's economical that way. If the posing's good, I can kind of sacrifice smooth animation for interesting poses. So let's see what this looks like.
This is our final Doom. C- at best, Egg Brain.
Let me real quick. Can I hide the animatic? Hopefully it doesn't have to re-render everything. Let's see. Yeah, it does. That's fine. Sorry about that. I was trying to play it without the animatic behind it at like a fully rendered view. I'm playing it fully rendered because in the timeline, I guess it's slowing down because of the stream. So I'm trying to see if I can get it to play here. But the animatic behind it kind of distracts it. I'll just play it one more time. And so there's a time code there on the storyboard. It's kind of inaccurate because the storyboard has scratch audio made by me instead of like the official voice actors, so it's a little inaccurate.
This is our final Doom. C- at best, Egg Brain.
You know what?
This is our final Doom.
If you guys don't mind waiting, I'm just gonna re-render this. Oh wait, what if I?
Best, Egg Brain.
If I do a Swift export, will that work faster? Oh no, it won't. Actually, oh, you guys can't see the test, can you? Hold on, because I have. Yeah, I don't know if because you guys see the test animation. I feel like it probably opened up in a new window, and you guys probably couldn't see it. Here, let me. All right, I'm gonna re-render it and see if I can change which window it's gonna come from. So I have the software just to broadcast from the Tune window, but when I export the video, it plays it in its own like player. Actually. Alright, let's play this. Render. Cool. So while I render, I'm just gonna look at. Just K and J. Oh, thanks, Just K and J. I appreciate. I'm glad you enjoy my stuff. I'm glad I inspired you. That's how I got into animation really, which is watching cartoons on the internet. And I was like, oh, wait, anybody can do this? I don't have to be in a big studio to make stuff. And I started making stuff when I was 11. Right now, you won't see anything right now because it's rendering. I'm rendering out the super rough keys, and then I want to see if I can switch the source of the stream to that window. Hopefully, it doesn't prematurely end the stream. Let's see. Well, okay, it's almost done rendering. Cool. Can y'all see that? Let's see. Where is? Okay, I think that's right. I'm just waiting for it to load the frames and then I'll play it. Jeez, it's taking a lot longer to load these frames than usual. All right, let's see.
This is our final doom. C minus at best, Egg Brain. This is our final doom. C minus at best, Egg Brain.
I might add one little pose at the end for Sonic where he looks away from Eggman.
This is our final doom. C minus at best, Egg Brain.
And his turn goes a little too fast, but
this is our final doom. C minus at best, Egg Brain. This is our final doom. C minus at best, Egg Brain. This is our final doom. C minus at best, Egg Brain.
His quills get a little bigger. So yeah, just like consistent. This model stuff I gotta make sure of. Some model stuff, some timing stuff. I still have to tweak for the rough and just some other in betweens. But this is pretty much how I can make sure the animation looks good enough before I go into clean. Because if there's mistakes in the rough pass, I can correct that a little more easily than if I were to, just go straight ahead into like clean drawings. Because then like I have to recolor everything and redraw everything. It's just too much. Let's see. Cool. So I just want to just to confirm, you guys were able to see the little animation that I was working on play, right? I'm just trying to check the stream, or is it? Wait. I think so, right? I'm not seeing it on my end, but okay. All right, cool. Oh wait, ew, gross. It's like overlapped on. Oh, okay. That's weird. I mean, that works for me, I guess. As long as y'all could see it. I gotta learn how to operate this better in the future. But I'm glad y'all could see it. Again, super work in progress. Animation for right before Eggman reveals a secret to the cast and what they'll be up against next. Obviously, is Sonic underestimating Eggman? Is he correct in his assumption? I don't know. So I have to find out. I'll keep on working on this scene. I might stream again when I get closer into the cleaning phase to show you how I clean up the animation. But I'll definitely be posting this entire sequence without the background, I think, on YouTube for everybody to see the final I want to show out. You know, I don't want to show off too much of the film because I want y'all to be surprised by some things. And as I get closer into Act 1, I start approaching some spoilery material. But I'm glad y'all came out. Shadow's glance. He glances at Sonic briefly, but I didn't draw the in-betweens. I just drew his eyes shifting over. When I actually clean it up, it'll be like a medium speeded blink at Sonic, then a blink backwards to Eggman. But yes, I'm going to head out now, y'all. It is dinner time. It's 6:40 over here where I'm at. Get some food. It's Friday night. Probably go out with my wife somewhere. But I really thank y'all for coming out. What's it? It's how many now? 210.